I'm tired of this comparison of Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse. They're between memes and everything going on the internet. They're comparing these two and saying Kyle Rittenhouse, especially when the police drove by him, saying that it's because he was white and that's the reason why he was able to do that. That if this was a black man, it wouldn't have played out like that. Same thing with Jacob Blake. Look at what happened with him. He was just reaching for something and he got shot 7 times in the back. Kyle Rittenhouse just killed 2 people and he walked right by the cops. And that's not the case here. Yes, if you try to break it down to the seconds or minutes of those situations, that's exactly the way they played out. Cops shot him in the back, as the news narrative tried to spin it, just trying to get into his car. Some news stories said that he was trying to break up a fight. Kyle Rittenhouse over here walked by police, but police weren't there for him. They heard shootings, they went over there, they didn't know that he had just shot someone. On top of that, Kyle Rittenhouse was there protecting businesses. I know a lot of people are going to get on me on that, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and jump straight to the breakdown. First, let's go ahead and start with Kyle Rittenhouse, since that's the most recent one. Right here on Andy Knows page, Twitter page, you do have the footage of what happened. Post Millennial came out with it, and on top of that, his attorneys just came out defending him and that it was self-defense according to new court docs. Well, breaking down, going away from the legal side of what they're doing now with Kyle Rittenhouse, let's now step back before the incidences played out on both situations. So Kyle Rittenhouse, why was he there? You're going to hear this narrative and everyone saying that he was a vigilante and he crossed state lines with a rifle, blah, 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 blah. Well, it has now come out, because, well, you need time to get facts and get everything put together, that he worked in Kenosha and he answered a call to a business owner that was asking for help to protect his business. He didn't have much left after the previous nights of riots and protests. So Kyle agreed to help him. He was even trying to help by cleaning up some of the graffiti that had happened the night before. And you guys see a lot of what his intent was with this interview that he had. Then the videos are pretty clear as it plays up. If you watch all of the videos, you can even go read the New York Times, which I'm really shocked at the fact that New York Times actually covered, not just covered, they did a breakdown showing how this was self-defense for Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, now let's jump over to Jacob Blake. He was shot 7 times in the back trying to get into his car. Well, now let's step out a little bit more. Jacob Blake, court docs now are saying that they found a knife on the floor. Once again, the comparison, one was walking down the street with a gun, the other one was just getting into a car that had a knife on the floor. But we're not asking why the cops were there. The big difference between Kyle Rittenhouse and Jacob Blake is, one, the cops were called on. The other one, the cops weren't called there. They were driving down the street asking someone was shot. They heard gunshots. That's why they were driving down the street. They weren't called for Jacob Blake or Kyle Rittenhouse. They weren't called for him. So they drove by him not knowing he had just shot 3 people. So they drove by him. They didn't know he shot 3 people. They weren't there for it. So try to spin this narrative of, oh, it was because he was white that they drove by him. They weren't there for it. Jacob Blake, on the other hand, cops were called on him. We have the audio of the police scanner obtained by, I believe, Madison 365. Here's the first few seconds of the call.
707 2805 40th Street, 2805440 Street. Complainant says Jacob Blake isn't supposed to be there, and he took the complainant's keys and is refusing to give them back.
The cops were called there. Jacob Blake had someone's keys. They weren't able to get her information at this time and refusing to give them back. Well, they also knew who Jacob Blake was. He has a felony warrant for sexual assault. Back in May, Jacob Blake entered into the same address as the address that he was shot at, went into a woman's room who was sleeping with a 6-year-old child, woke her up, told her, "I want my shit," violated her with his fingers, smelled his fingers, and accused her of being with another man. He sexually assaulted a woman. He also has a previous record of being violent. So when the cops were called there, they were walking into a situation where a man was violent. On top of that, the situation that had even played out that day away from the woman that he assaulted, of why he had a warrant out for his arrest. He resisted arrest. They shot tasers at him. He didn't work. He kept resisting arrest. The guy has a warrant for sexual assault, and he was getting into a car with 3 kids. He was just violent with police officers, and the police officers weren't going to allow him enter into a dangerous police chase, nor did, there's mixed information going out there if he had the knife on him while walking to the car, or if it was just in the car. So Jacob Blake, everything set up right there. The officers did everything they could to stop him. He has a sexual assault warrant. He's had domestic violence. The man's violent. He assaulted a woman, and now he's become this new martyr. He was trying to get into a car with kids. The police, what are you to think? No, you're not in that situation. I'm not in that situation. But the guy just finished fighting you. It's safe to assume that he would fight you further, or even with a deadly weapon. So if the knife was in there, reasonable cause. The cop's life could be in danger. The kid's life could be in danger. He is wanted for sexual assault. Why would you let someone who's wanted for sexual assault leave with children? Why would you let somebody who has domestic violence leave with children? I know the news didn't say that, but why would you? The cop has a reason to fear for his life. The cop has reason to fear for the life of the children. It's not gonna look well. So don't buy into that narrative. But now going back to comparing the two, they're not comparable. One assaulted a woman sexually assaulted a woman, had a felony warrant, had the cops called on him because he was at the same address that the woman filed a complaint was from. And that's where he was shot. That's why he was there. Jacob Blake, or Kyle Rittenhouse, was there cleaning up graffiti. He worked in Kenosha. He had a reason to be there. He even turned himself in immediately once he got home. The cops weren't there answering a call on him. He was doing something what he thought was good. In the videos, it is clear that it was self-defense. Even a gunshot went off before Kyle Rittenhouse had ever shot anyone. He was running away in both instances. I know everyone's going to say they are rioting. They're not protesting. And it is a failure of these state governments of why a 17-year-old kid went out there and did this. You can argue all day long if he was justified in his actions, that he shouldn't have been out there, his parents should have stopped him. I have a wide range of comments of what people said should have happened. Everything that they said applies to the rioters and protesters. On top of that, 2 of the men that were shot lived further away from Kenosha than Kyle did. So that throws out that first idea that Kyle is this criminal. Kyle crossed state lines. He works in Kenosha. He was already there. He did not cross state lines to get there. He was already there. He didn't wake up and say, I'm going to go kill me some protesters. No. He agreed to protect a business. He wanted to help people. And people assaulted him, yelled at him, chased after him. He had a reasonable reason to fear for his life. And so many people are just saying he was out there doing wrong. But this is also why, you know what, I'm going to do a different video for that. So make sure you guys follow me to get that video. But as you guys can see, they are not comparable. They're not the same instance. They're not the same situation. Kyle Rittenhouse was a kid who thought he was doing something good. Jacob Blake was at the same house of the woman that he sexually assaulted back in May, taking her keys and refusing to give them back to her. Cops were called on him, and as same thing as Kyle Rittenhouse, as you can see in the videos, you guys see how that plays out. But he wasn't just some innocent black man trying to break up a fight and cops just showed up to kill him. They're dividing the country, and that's what they're shooting for. But if you guys like this video or found value in it, please like, comment, and subscribe.